स्वादयन्निह सर्वेषाम् त्रय्यन्तार्थम् सुदुर्ग्रहम् स्तोत्रयामास योगीन्द्रः तम् वन्दे यामुनाह्वयम्। नमो नमो यामुनाय यामुनाय नमो नमः। नमो नमो यामुनाय यामुनाय नमो नमः। यत्पदाम्भोरुहध्यान विध्वस्ताशेषकल्मषः वस्तुतामुपयातोऽहम् यामुनेयम् नमामि तम्। स्वधर्मज्ञानवैराग्य साध्यभक्त्येकगोचरः नारायणः परम् ब्रह्म गीताशास्त्रे समीरितः। श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्यः कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्ताम् सदा हृदि।
स्वादयन्निह सर्वेषाम् त्रय्यन्तार्थम् सुदुर्ग्रहम् स्तोत्रयामास योगीन्द्रस्तम् वन्दे यामुनाह्वयम्। नमो नमो यामुनाय यामुनाय नमो नमः। नमो नमो यामुनाय यामुनाय नमो नमः। यत्पदाम्भोरुह ध्यान विध्वस्ताशेष कल्मषः वस्तुताम् उपयातोऽहम् यामुनेयम् नमामि तम्। श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्यः कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्ताम् सदा हृदि. Just have a look at Sriranga Gadyam. I would like to tell you something which we are already familiar with, of course, to remind ourselves some of the thoughts of Sri Ramanujacharya on his 1003rd birthday today. Chidachit Paratattvanam Tattva Yatharthya Vedini Ramanujaya Munaye Namo Mama Gariyase. That is the first prayer from Sriranga Gadyam for, of course, Ramanuja.
I see.
So why I say this is has got a lot of relevance to Gita Sangraha. We were discussing about Yatharthya, Yathartha. So Yatharthya Vedi is Ramanuja. Tattva Yatharthya Vedi was Ramanuja. Ramanuja was aware or was knowledgeable to understand the true form of the principles. So what are the principles? Chitta, Achitta, Paratattvanam. So the insentient, and the Lord, the highest living being. These three principles have been understood very clearly in true form by Swami Ramanujacharya, and therefore our salutation to that. Since Sriranga Gadyam is a small, just A4 size 1 or 1/4 page, 1 and 1/4 page in either Sanskrit or English. So he starts with a list of qualities. Of course, he gives a small list. He knows that he gives a small list, and the very first word, there is his own control, the self-control is there, and here his form, his status, and his progress, everything is under his control. Again, the second quality that Ramanuja says is apahata papmatvam. We discussed earlier that he has no blemish attached to him, no fault will get attached to him. Then you have a list of qualities. When you mention the number of qualities in the Lord, he says it's a big ocean, so you cannot even count the number of qualities. So he is, who is he? He is, already we call him as Narayana Param Brahma in Gita Sangraha. So he is also calling as Parabrahma Bhutam. Then again Purushottamaha, Purushottamam. So you have a, what we call in Bhagavad Gita, Purushottama Yogaha. It's the name of the chapter, Purushottama Yogaha. Then he refers to Sriranga Shayinam. In black and white, tangible Lord is at hand. So Saulabhyam Adhikam Asti, he's got easy accessibility. So Sriranga Shayinam. Then what does he pray for in Sriranga Gadyam is, I must make myself aware that I am a slave, a permanent slave to the Lord. And I must always experience His blessing. I must love Him all the time, 24 by 7, we say. So having experienced the bliss, the divine bliss, because of His blessing, then I must get so much involved or engrossed, then that will create a surprise in me, and therefore that surprise will create an affection towards Him, and then I will become, though mentally I have the slavish attitude, but physically I must do service. That is how he finishes the first paragraph. So again in the second paragraph, now again I now see, because of your association, my association with you, so the first paragraph gives you the Karma Yoga. The second paragraph gives us the Jnana Yoga. He says the Jnana is the Upaya, Jnana is the wisdom, is the means to attain Him. Then, so he, what we call, he gives a lot of what we call self-abnegation, that is lowering himself, what we call otherwise as Naichyanusandhanam, belittling oneself and saying, I am without any good qualities, all the good qualities that the Lord has. Then again I have what we call a latent impression of the previous birth sins. So I have a smell, bad smell. That bad smell is from the sins of the previous birth, and I am already drowned in the great ocean of sins. Then how to recognize the Lord in every creation? So it is like identifying the oil in sesame seed, and it is like understanding that there is fire in wood, because wood is the best fuel for fire. So with this, so I am comprised of three qualities, namely Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, and Tamo Guna. And then I have an illusion. A screen is preventing me in understanding the luster of God. Then I have got a lot of ignorance. The ignorance is also has no beginning. And then I've been tied down by the rope of what we call karma here. Then even after many births, I'm not able to find out the means to cross the ocean of life. And then therefore he says, because of my helplessness, I salute your feet. I bow down and then I fall at your feet. So that is the second paragraph. Then finally, again he prays for service to God, and he says, I have no other strategy, I have no other refuge, I have no other shelter. Then as we do Sattvika Tyaga for every action of ours, he says, you please carry on my task. Tvam eva evam kurushvama. So I must be made a lover to your highest being. So he calls him as the lotus-eyed Lord, lotus-eyed Lord. Namely, the brightness, the coolness, the beautiful aroma, and the blessing look of this Pundarikaksha, the eyes like lotus. And then it is not like what we call, just to compare, Narasimha's vision over Hiranyakashipu, but his look over Prahlada. And then, so even when I am bereft of all these qualities which are necessary, so I don't have desire to approach you. I don't have a desire to realize or understand the true form of the God. Then please bear with me and understand that just by saying all this for the past, say 1 page, please make my mind attached to you, and you do it by yourself. Then he addresses the Lord of Srirangam specially, saying that he is the unlimited ocean of mercy, and he is a refuge for all. Then he removes troubles of the devotees, and then he has a lot of affection towards the Sarandaris. Then he is a true person, attached to truth. He never makes false promises. He saves us from danger, and he comes from the race of Rama. So Kakusta is the name of all these kings in the solar race, namely Raghu Vamsham, or otherwise called Surya Vamsham. Then finally he says Sri Ranganatha. So Namostute. So this is in essence what we saw in his Sri Rangagadyam. Understand. Because today is the birthday of Sri Ramanujacharya, and he has been what we call sympathetic in attitude towards the devotees, or the rather co-devotees, you can say, co-partners in realization. And because he was born in a star called Ardra, Ardra meaning wet by sympathy. The heart is wet by sympathy. So also Lord Shiva, so also the Acharya, namely Adi Shankara, all of them were born in Ardra star. And therefore, in Chidambaram, it's a very famous festival for Nataraja. It's called Darshanam. It's called Ardra Darshanam. Many people mistake it as Rudra Darshanam because Lord Shiva is called, otherwise also called Rudra. Rudra, there are 2 or 3 meanings. One meaning is he makes people weep. He makes others weep. Rodayati iti Rudraha. So also Ravana. Ravana also made many people weep. So here, that means he also gets angry. Another meaning is Raudram is the sentiment, one of the 9 sentiments in the dramas in Sanskrit. Raudram is again what we call Krodham, or fury, as we said, and that is the root cause for all our evils we already discussed. So with this small introduction to Ramanuja's principles on his birthday, let us go to the first verse of Gitartha Sangraha. Sarva Bhutatma Bhutasya Satya Sankalpasya. So that is why I wanted to introduce Sri Rangagadyam today as a part of the celebration of his birthday. He calls him as Satya Sankalpaha in two times in a single page. Sri Rangagadyam. Sarva Bhutatma Bhutasya Satya Sankalpasya Mahavibhutehe Sriman Narayanasya Praptyupaya Bhutam Tadupasanam Bhaktum tat angabhutam atmajnana purvaka karma anusthana. I think again spelling anusthana sadhyam. Yes, karma anusthana sadhyam praptuhu pratyak atmanaha. Atmano is there. Atmanaha yathatmya darshanam muktam. That's the first sentence. It goes like this. So, now we already understood that he is the inner soul of every creation or every living being. So Sarva Bhuta Atma Bhuta. Sarva Bhuta, all the living beings, Atma Bhuta is the inner soul. He is the active soul or the soul, inner soul, which makes the living being, all living beings active. Otherwise, there is no activity for the individual soul also, unless he gives the energy, impetus, or encouragement. Therefore, Sarva Bhuta Atma Bhutasya. So, how does he do it? How does he do that? Satya Sankalpasya. He makes a decision and makes it true. So, the decision will not go waste. The decision will not remain unused. So, Satya Sankalpasya. The very form is a true form. No falsehood is attached to him. I used to say in Sanskrit, there is no word for falsehood. In Tamil, there are words, poi. Poi is there for satyam. We can only give the opposite word of satyam in Sanskrit. You have the word dharma. Then if you want to say unrighteousness, you have to say adharma. You don't have a separate word for adharma in Sanskrit or asatyam for Sanskrit. Asatyam in Sanskrit, whereas other languages have. Lie we have in English, L-I-E, and then falsehood. But there is no word for falsehood or lie in Sanskrit. So Satya Sankalpasya. So one who has made decisions with regard to creation, sustenance, and dissolution. So Mahavibhutehe. So Vibhuti meaning prosperity, as I told you earlier. Mahavibhuti is the greatest prosperity. So the name is Sriman Narayanasya, associated with Mahalakshmi, and Praptyupaya Bhutam. Now the word Praptyupaya Bhutam qualifies last but one word, Yathatmya Darshanam. From the word Praptyupaya Bhutam, all the words will be qualifying Yathatmya Darshanam. Then Uktam. So in the second 6 chapters, the essence of the second 6 chapters, there is a word called Yathatmya. So what is that Yathatmya Darshanam? So the divine vision. So that will be Praptyupaya Bhutam. That will be the means to attain Sriman Narayana, who is Sarva Bhutatma Bhutaha, Satya Sankalpaha, Mahavibhuti, and Sriman Narayana. Now, in order to attain that, how to use the means, how do we use the means? What method of approach? The Yathatmya Darshanam will be Tad Upasanam. You can take it as either the Upasanam, the worship, or what you call frequent or continuous worship in mind, and you can also do physical service. So Upasanam literally means Upa Asanam, sitting near him. Upa means near. Upa becomes an assistant. So we will be the assistant. So the assistant sitting near, meaning our thoughts are one and the same. So we see with one vision. So Tadupasanam will be Yathatmya Darshanasya Tadupasanam or Sriman Narayanasya Upasanam. It is either meditation of the Lord or it is a meditation over the vision of the true form of the Lord. Both are almost same. So Tadupasanam Bhaktum, in order to say that Yathatmya Darshanam is to be meditated. Yathatmya Darshanam, as again I repeat, the divine vision of the true form of the God has to be meditated. So in order to say that, Bhaktum, Tadanga Bhutam Atmajnana Purvaka Karmanusthana Sadhyam. So again, we saw that the first verse, Jnana Karmatmike Nishthe. Jnana Karmatmike Nishthe. So I also told you that the karma precedes jnana, karma is before jnana, and therefore karmanusthana sadhyam. Sadhyam, it is achievable. The last word of the compound. Sadhyam is achievable. Achievable by karma anusthana, so following the physical action, the duty, daily duty. So that will be preceding purvaka. Atmajnana purvaka. So it will be preceding what we call Atmajnanam. Atmajnanam is also, first we must understand ourselves. Then first we must understand who is the individual soul or what is the individual soul for. So already we said it in different terms. One of the terms is Dasya Bhava. That is slavish attitude. So Atmajnana. So Atmajnanam will be preceded by Karmanusthana. That will be the part and parcel of the meditation over the Lord. That will be again to get the vision of the true form, of His true form. So Praptuhu is one who he wants to reach. Who is that Praptuhu? Pratyagatmanaha. Is the individual soul. So the individual soul has to practice what we call the vision. First, initially, one has to do all actions enjoined by scriptures, and then gain all kinds of knowledge related to the Almighty, and then practice that Almighty as the means to attain Him, and that will be the duty of the individual soul. So the accessories to the meditation will be completing or performing the duties and gaining spiritual wisdom. So that will be that is said by the word Yathatmya in the verse number 3. So Idani, now Madhyamena Shatkena, in the middle 6 chapters, Parabrahma Bhutam Paramapurusha Swarupam Tadupasanancha Bhakti Shabda Vachyam Uchyate. Now, what we said as Upasanam, you can also say it in Strilinga Shabda, feminine gender word, Upasana. Tamil it becomes Upasanai. That is meditation. So meditation here on the Almighty in the second 6 chapters is only otherwise called Bhakti. That's all. Idanim now Madhyamena Shatkena, by the second 6 chapters, Parabrahma Bhutam Paramapurusha Swarupam. So both words denote, as you know, all of you very well know, that it is Sriman Narayana. So Tadu Upasanancha. So we understand the original nature, when we say Swarupam, original nature of the Lord, plus the meditation on Him, that is called Bhakti. Bhakti Shabda Vachyam Uchyate. It is said as Bhakti Shabda. Tat, etat, uttaratra. Again, there is only one single small mistake. Uttaratra will be not single ta, but double ta. Tat, etat, uttaratra. TTA will be there instead of T. in Sanskrit. I don't know, I think it's also equally good in English. In Sanskrit, in English it is okay. Sanskrit is not. I mean, yeah, that is right. So, tadetat uttaratra yataha pravrittir bhutanam. So, Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 46th verse. Iti arabhya mad bhaktim labhate param. Again, 54. Iti sankshipya. Again, the spelling mistake is only in Sanskrit. Sankshipya. Not Sankshapya, it is Shikya. KSI. SAM KSI. Sankshipya. I'm sorry, I must have told you earlier after going through yeah, right. Sankshipya Vyakshate. Vakshate. Sankshipya Vakshate. So Bhaktireva yogaha or yogo bhakti yogaha. Yogaha sannahana upaya dhyana sangati yuktishu. Amarakoshe Nanatha Varge 179. Iti पाठात् योग शब्दः अत्र उपायपरः ध्यानपरत्वे अपि सामान्य विशेष रूपतया अन्वयसिद्धिः प्रकीर्तितः स्वरूपतः इति कर्तव्यतातः कार्यतश्च प्रकृष्टतया कीर्तितः इत्यर्थः. Now, so we are going to see the bhakti. What is bhakti? What is devotion? So already we saw in the second sentence that Yathatmya Darshana Upasanam, or you can say meditating on the Almighty in realizing or having the divine vision of the true form is otherwise called the bhakti. To give you a very practical example, of course, this is I always say this because Paropadeshe Pandityam is. I have the what you call expertise to advise others, but to my own self practice, I may sometimes I may many times fail. So when we have a darshan or seva at a temple like Sri Ranganatha in Sri Rangam. As Ranganatha was, the birthday is celebrated with Tirumanjanam, called Abhishekaha. So Majjanam we say in Sanskrit. Sri Majjanam will be anointing the Lord with various unguents, water, milk, curd, honey, and so on. So many things. So anointing is done. In a particular star day, there are 3 star days for Sri Ranganatha. Number 1 is Revati. That is the last star. Then the 18th star, Jyeshtha. So we'll have Jyeshtha Abhishekam. Then you have Rohini also. Almost every month he has got 3 times. We say in for joke we say Vishnu is Alankara Priyaha. Lord Vishnu is Alankara Priyaha. Shivaha Abhisheka Priyaha. Shiva gets anointed frequently, whereas Vishnu does not get frequently anointed, that he doesn't take bath every day, only three times a year in the sense. Jyeshtha is of course 3 times a month, you can say. So Jyeshtha is what we call Kettai, as we say in Tamil. Then Rohini is, as you know, the birth star of Lord Krishna, and Revati is a star on which Lord Ranganatha came to Sri Ranga. So with these 3 stars, he has what we call Abhishek. When he is Lord Krishna, his birthday is celebrated on Rohini day. When he is Lord Krishna, then you must understand it as Keshavdas Swami rightly put it, Bala Leela. Remember his child pranks, the childish pranks or childlike pranks. So when you had a lot of stories of prank, you say he stole butter. A devotee from Canada by name Shweta, she called him butter bandit, to rhyme in English also, butter bandit. Pandit is a scholar, but bandit is a robber. So he robbed the Navanitam, the butter. So the butter, because he ate a lot of butter as a child, even Yashoda felt that he will have stomach trouble. So much attached towards a child brought to her. It's a foster child. It's not her own child. Now as we go and have a darshan of seva of Ranganatha, we must have the fresh smell of the butter which Lord Krishna or as Lord Ranganatha tasted in his Dwapara Yuga. This is what we say bhakti. So the bhakti will be, you get a smell, a good smell of butter in your nostrils when you approach Lord Ranganatha. So that will be what you call real bhakti. But here coming to bhakti, so bhakti has been supported by the Bhagavad Gita verses. We'll be trying to see in detail this expression, Yatah Pravrittir Bhutanam. So all the living beings came out of him. So Yataha, from whom Pravrittihi Bhutanam, the progress was made by the living being. That is the 18th, 46th verse. Then starting with that 46th verse, iti arabhya, then Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that a bhakta, a real bhakta, will rather a devotee will completely get his fulfillment, namely the attitude of devotion towards me, the highest devotion towards me. Mad Bhaktim, he will be attached to me. Labhate, he will get it, he will achieve it. Param, the highest one. That is Gita, Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 54. So from 46 to 54, so you have the mention of the word Bhakti Yoga, because the last 6 chapters give us the Bhakti Yoga. The second 6 chapters give us the Jnana Yoga, and the last 6 will be on Bhakti Yoga. So iti Sankshipya Lakshate. It will be briefly explained. It will be explained. Lakshate, Sankshipya, in brief. So in short, it will be said little later. That is on the third 6 chapters, last 6 chapters. So what is Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Reva Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. The discipline called Bhakti Yoga is what we call Bhakti. The devotion itself is the discipline. There is nothing separate as devotion and discipline. So this is synonymous. Bhakti Reva Yoga. Then again, what is yoga? So Sannahana Upaya Dhyana Sangati Yuktisu. It's what we call consolidation. Yoga is a consolidation, rather bringing together. Upaya, namely the means to attain the Lord. Then Dhyana, the meditation. The Sangati is the link. And Yukti, the other methods. The other method being Karma and Jnana. So Sannahana is a consolidation. Then Upaya is the means. Dhyana is the meditation. Sangati is the relationship between the Upaya, Dhyana and the Lord. and then yuktishu. So this is what we call synonyms for yoga. So yoga will be otherwise called sannahanam, upayaha, dhyanam, sangatihi, yuktihi. So yuktihi also you can mean it as strategy, method of approach. So this is what is said by Amarasimha. The author is called Amarasimha in his dictionary of synonyms, Amarakoshe, Nanartha Varge. When there are words with different meanings, many meanings, single word having a lot of meanings, and many words having the same meaning. So it is now the second type, namely many meanings for single or many synonyms for single word. So Nanartha Varge, so that will be 179. And iti pathat, from that lesson, yoga shabdaha atra upaya paraha. So out of the synonym sannahanam, upayaha, dhyanam, sangatihi and yuktihi, there are 5. So now is upayaha is the meaning for yoga. So bhakti yoga means bhakti upayaha. Devotion is the method of approach. Devotion is the strategy. Devotion is the means. So bhakti yoga, we have been saying discipline. The discipline is helpful to achieve our target. The target is realization of God. So that is easy to understand. If you have any questions, we will finish the other 2 sentences. Dhyana paratve api samanya vishesha rupataya anvaya siddhi. So when one is engaged in meditation, when one is busy with meditation, dhyana paratve api, it must be the highest meditation. Because it is called the highest meditation because it relates to the Lord, nothing else. It is not dhyana of something else. So dhyana paratve api samanya vishesha rupataya anvaya siddhi. So there is a combination of an ordinary meditation and a special meditation. So samanya is general or ordinary, then vishesha rupataya, so it has got a special form. So dhyana has got a lot of steps. When it is initially done, called samanya, when you come to special, what we call a particular aim with for dhyana, that will be vishesha rupataya. Now again, all these words, samanya, vishesha, rupa, will be explained later. So anvaya siddhi is the correlation will be understood. Siddhi, of course, meaning success. The success for correlation will be rather how to understand dhyana will be through the 2 parts of dhyana, namely ordinary dhyana and vishesha dhyana. Now, last word of the 3rd verse, prakirtitaha. Already we said prakirtitaha, which means has been sung very well. S-U-N-G, has been sung very well, or has been praised very well, has been adored very well, has been appreciated very well. So, swarupataha iti kartavyatataha karyatascha prakrishtaya kirtitaha ityartha. Whenever we say kirtitaha, generally kirti as the 2-lettered word, 2-syllable word, you understand it is fame, F-A-M-E. Kirti means popularity. We already saw that. So, Kirtitaha, so it has been praised, adored. Prakirtitaha, well adored. Very simple. But what is Prakirtitaha is Swarupataha Prakirtitaha. According to the original form, it has been praised. Based on original form, it has been praised. Not simply praised, taking into account consideration the special form, the original form of the Lord, that has been praised. Then again, why? What is the process? It is because of kartavyatataha, because of the duty consciousness Because of the duty consciousness. Why? Who has got the duty consciousness? Namely, here it is Alavandar, it is Yamunacharya. So Yamunacharya says this, and therefore he is interested in understanding the realization of God. And he says that Lord Krishna made a plan to make Arjuna understand the concepts in the Bhagavad Gita, and through Arjuna he advises us, and therefore Kartavyata Taha is Lord has the bounden duty to protect all the living beings of his creation. Of course, the entire creation also, not only the living beings. Therefore, he has to perform the duty of giving the concept for understanding to Arjuna, and through Arjuna, all the living beings. So, Kartavyata refers to the duty consciousness of the Lord. And then Karyatascha. Now, it is not enough that he teaches us the theory. He must also show by practice. That is why we call an Acharya a preceptor. By precept and practice. By example and a role model, we say. Advice and act the model. Then only the students or the disciples or the devotees will believe the preceptor that they must follow these concepts. So Karyataha, the Lord Krishna has shown by his very action, physical action, that the concepts are transferred to Arjuna. And then how did he do it? Prakrishtataya, in the best way. And therefore Kirtita. So Alavandar Yamunacharya's opinion is Lord Krishna has done very well, and his concepts have been explained nicely in the second, sixth chapter. Now, Yamunacharya, the Acharya, I can say, gives a certificate, pramana, or what we call authoritative certificate to Lord Krishna, that the Bhagavad Gita has been well conceptualized and then well said, well explained. So with this, we invite the participants' views.
So, Swami, I just wanted to read those verses from Bhagavad Gita 18:46 to 54, which are being referenced here. I'm just going to read the English. By worshipping with his own proper duty, him for whom all beings have their origin, him by whom all this universe is pervaded, man finds perfection. Then
Okay.
Okay, so that was 46. Yata pravriti bhutanam. The next verse, better one's own duty, though imperfect, than the duty of another well performed. Performing the duty prescribed by one's own nature, one does not incur evil. That was 47. Then 48, one should not abandon the duty to which one is born, even though it be deficient, Arjuna. Indeed, all undertakings are enveloped by evil, as fire is by smoke. It's 48. Then we have 49. With his intellect unattached at all times, with conquered self, free from desire. By renunciation, one attains the supreme state of freedom from action. That's 49. 50 is, learn from me briefly, Arjuna, how one who has attained perfection also attains Brahman, which is the highest state of knowledge. That's 50. And 51 is, endowed with a pure intellect, controlling the self with firmness, abandoning sound and other objects of sense, casting off attraction and hatred, dwelling in solitude, eating lightly, controlling speech, body, and mind, constantly devoted to yoga, meditation, taking refuge in dispassion, relinquishing egotism, force, arrogance, desire, anger, and possession of property. Unselfish, tranquil, he is fit for oneness with Brahman. And 54, absorbed in Brahman, he whose self is serene does not mourn, nor does he desire, impartial amongst all beings, he attains supreme devotion to me.
It's good that from 46 to 54, you have given the translation.
Yeah, so this I'm reading the literal translation from the Bhagavad Gita translated by Withrop Sargent, which has the grammatical explanation along with it.
Is it ISKCON translation or?
No. This is that from Bhagavad Gita translated by Withrop Sargent. He's a scholar, and it is an edition that has all the words explained grammatically. So it's a literal translation, grammatical translation.
It's good.
So, coming from 27 to 28, we had a lot of these adjectives describing the Lord. Nikhila Jagadeka Karanasya Sarvagyasya Nivadyasya Parasya Brahmano Paramaprapta Bhutasya. And then today we had Sarva Bhutatma Bhutasya, Sarva Sankalpasya, Mahavibhutehe, Sriman Narayanasya, etc. We had these different adjectives. It seems like every time the Lord is mentioned by different acharyas, Vedanta Deshika and Sripad Ramanujacharya, they go on and on praising different qualities of the Lord, wonderful qualities, which is all of these qualities seem to go completely against the Advaitic understanding that he has no qualities, nirguna. So giving all good qualities to him, so that somebody reading the commentaries of Vaishnavacharyas never get the idea that there are no qualities of the Lord. So that was one thing that I noticed. And then giving this understanding about the middle 6 chapters as pertaining to Bhakti Yoga, and explaining that Bhakti Yoga is specifically presented in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 46 verses 46 to 54. But normally we understand that even in the beginning of the middle 6 chapters, in chapter 12, the end of this middle 6 chapters, chapter 12, that is Bhakti Yoga itself. So it's interesting that I just wanted you to say something perhaps about why Vedanta Deshika, when he is talking about the middle 6 chapters, quotes from the 18th chapter, which is a summary of the other chapters, rather than quoting verses from the actual 12th chapter, which is Bhakti Yoga.
He gives a method to, reach Bhakti Yoga from Jnana Yoga, and therefore, though Jnana Yoga is the essence of the middle 6 chapters, what does it lead to? This is a preamble to the last 6 chapters.
Right. What I'm saying is, though, the 12th chapter is normally entitled Bhakti Yoga. So it comes right at the end of the middle 6 chapters. 1 to 6 will be the first 6, and 7 to 12 will be the next 6. So it actually, the Bhakti Yoga chapter comes within the middle 6. And yet Vedanta Deshika here, when he wants to give an explanation of what is Bhakti Yoga, has quoted from the 18th chapter, which is the summary. So I'm just wondering, my question was why he doesn't quote from the 12th chapter to explain about what Bhakti Yoga is, because that chapter seems to be entitled Bhakti Yoga, and is there any idea?
All of us know that while doing Karma Yoga, there is performing the duties, and while gaining knowledge, there is practicing Jnana Yoga. The Bhakti is the inner spirit that runs through both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. It is with the detachment we perform the action, the duty. Detachment towards the worldly desire. But the aim is always on the mind. That Bhakti Yoga should be there. Bhakti Yoga should be the goal. And it is achieved through Karma Yoga, and therefore doing any karma with Bhakti. And also Jnana Yoga, while gaining knowledge, that we understand we are very little to, against the Lord's position. We have no stand, what we call loco standi, before the Lord. And then, so that humility with which we gain the knowledge, wisdom, spiritual wisdom, also involves bhakti. And therefore, we will see when the chapter 12 is summarized by Gitartha Sangraha of the Yamunacharya, we will understand what Swami Deshika would say for us.
Okay, so just going on here in the commentary, he quotes from Amarikosha to explain the word yoga, yogaha, and gives these 4 meanings, for different meanings for yogaha, 4 or 5 meanings.
5,
yeah, 5 meanings. Sanahan upaya and dhyana. And yuktishu. Sangati yuktishu. Yeah. And then finally he lands on upaya as the meaning in this particular instance.
Yoga.
Yeah. So bhakti yoga is an upaya, is a means to the end, and the end is the Lord, or also moksha, or liberation. But here in Amarikosha, can you say something more about this? Because the word being explained in Amarikosha is yoga, not bhakti yoga, but only yoga. So how is it that all yoga is defined as these 5 things?
Now, yoga, the very word literally meaning yuga. Yuga is we know say the word era. Kali Yuga. So each Yuga is linked with the other. Some connection is there. Sambandha, we say. Sambandha. There is a link. So there is a connection. So generally, when we say Yuga, it means 2. TWO. 2 things joined together. So here it is the individual soul's mind and Supreme Soul's original form. Swarupam, Yathatmya Darshanam, in the mind of the individual soul. So the mind is attached. Here, so there are 2 things to be joined together, so namely Yuga. So that will be, that is what we call Sannahanam, I told you, as consolidation. The second is Upaya, the means. Again, so by what method will you realize God? The realization comes through, and as we said today in Sattvika Yoga, the individual soul is the instrument So there must be some instrument used to attain the Supreme Soul. The very individual soul is the Upaya, or rather Bhakti here. So Bhakti is the Upaya, and Upaya is what is the method of approach. The second, the number one, Sannahanam, then the second word will be and you have
Sannahan, and
Sannahanam,
Sanhanan and Upaya and Dhyana and Sangati and Yukti.
Upaya, Dhyana, okay, Dhyanam. So after the word Upayam, Dhyanam, meditation. So Bhakti Yoga is Bhakti Dhyanam. So meditating on the Bhakti, meditating on your attachment towards the Lord. Then finally Sangati, Sangati and Yukti. Sangati, what we say, of course, in Sri Bhashyam is different. So again, here it means the link. So what is the relationship between the individual soul and the Supreme Soul? So think of that and do Bhakti. So the individual soul is always subservient to the Supreme Soul. That is the relationship. He is the master. We already saw 9 relationships. So Navavidha Sambandha. So that comes to what we call Sangati. Sangati. There are 2 objects. So between the 2 objects, what is the relationship? So that will be what we call Yoga. Yoga will be actually the union. The union. How does the union come about, or the results in what results in union? So in union, the individual soul is one with the Supreme Soul, or in the individual soul is always lesser in quality against the Supreme Soul. Now, so all these 5 synonyms for yoga will be Sannahanam, then Upayaha, then Dhyanam, meditation, and then Sangati, then Yuktihi. Yuktihi, though I think I said it as method, Yuktihi is also a method of combining these 2. Yukti meaning combination. So yoga is again combination. Yoga is otherwise termed as Yukti. There is no difference between yoga and Yukti. So that is, Amarakosha must have given all these meanings according to the term. And Bhakti Yoga must be understood as Bhakti Upaya, rather than Bhakti Sannahanam, Bhakti Dhyanam, Bhakti Sangati, Bhakti Yukti. Now, the yoga also means that the 2 will join together, namely the individual soul and the Supreme Soul. I think I'm not able. I think I'm not convincing you properly.
No, that's okay. I understand. So Amarakosha is giving 5 synonyms, and all of them are applicable. But Upaya is the best.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. So and then in the last word, Prakirtitaha, Vedanta Deshika is explaining that there is 2 aspects or 3 aspects. One aspect is that he kartavyata, and so that is doing, and or knowing, and then can you explain those 3 aspects again of Prakirtitaha?
Kirtitaha generally meaning adored, appreciated. In the middle 6 chapters, so what is appreciated with a Yathatmya Darshanam is appreciated. Bhakti Yoga is appreciated. The Bhakti Yoga is appreciated, of course, through Jnana Yoga. And Kartavyatataha, to explain grammatically, that will make you understand What is it? Taha, taha is called the tas suffix. A pratyaya is a suffix called taha. We use in lieu of instead of Panchami Vibhakti called the Ath. Ath will be the pratyaya for example, Rama Shabda. From Rama or than Rama will be Ramat or Rama. I mean, Ramat means than Rama or from Rama. So also, Kartavyatataha meaning Kartavyatat, I mean, Kartavyatayaha will be there. That is actually Kartavyata is feminine gender word. So it will be like Ramayaha in Panchami Vibhakti. So Kartavyatayaha, instead of Kartavyatayaha, he says Kartavyatataha. Meaning, from the duty consciousness of the Lord. From the duty consciousness of the Lord. Why I say duty consciousness of the Lord? That is because He is the doer. Otherwise, you can also say that because we are also instruments in the hands of God, the individual soul also has the duty consciousness. Kartavyata. Kartavyata is duty consciousness. The being of the duty, meaning the attitude of the duty. Then again, karyataha, because of the action. Again, that the same tas suffix is used. So karyataha, you can say karyat. Whose karyam? Whose action? It is both the individual's soul's action and supreme soul's action. Since we dismiss individual soul as just the instrument in the hands of God, because the main doer is the Lord, we say Lord's duty consciousness and Lord's action. So Krishna, Lord Krishna shows by action karyataha, and that has been praised, kirtita. Both aspects have been praised, namely kartavyataha and karyataha. Lord's indebtedness to the devotee. Lord's what we call commitment. The commitment he has to perform towards the devotees, plus his own specific what we call direct action. So these two, and of course you can show me if you last sentence that pra only meaning well done. Pra is well done. So prakirtita has well explained, well sung. I told you well sung. So that will be swarupataha, by the original form. By the original form. These are the three aspects. By the original, from the original form. The original form, as you mean here, will be the auspicious qualities of the Lord. And he knows that he is the master. He knows he is limitless in greatness. He knows he has no blemish attached to him. He knows he is the husband of Shri and therefore he is sympathetic. And all this called the Swarupata. And he knows he is unlimited in nature, whereas individual soul is limited in nature. The individual's knowledge is also limited in nature, whereas his limitation has no bound. His limitation of knowledge has no bound. That is why it's called, already we had as you today listed the adjective, we say Sarvajnasya. Sarvajnasya. He knows everything. And therefore, what we say in English also, it behoves, it deserves that he does favor a devotee. How does he favor a devotee? Through his Swarupataha, original form, the natural form we can also say, plus Kartavyatataha, the sense of consciousness in doing duty, and then thirdly by the duty, by the very action itself. So by these three, we understand that this middle 6 chapters has been praising the Lord.
Yes. So because Bhakti Yoga specifically comes in the 12th chapter. The chapters from 7 up until 12 have been leading up to the culmination of explaining Bhakti Yoga in full. So chapter 7 is knowledge of the absolute, in which many things are explained about chit and achit, chetanas and achetanas, the living entity and material nature, and so it all leads up to chapter 12. So between 7 and 12, first of all, you have to understand the nature of chit and achit and Ishvara, and then you can understand how to meditate upon him and how to think of him. So whereas in the first 6 chapters it ends with this Yoginamapi Sarvesham verse that he is the best yogi, but actually at the end of the 6th chapter you don't really know who is the best yogi, because you're going to be introduced to Bhakti Yoga later. So I think that's all I really wanted to go over, was those points. If anybody else has any questions and comments about middle 6 chapters.
I understand your question. Your question seems to be, why should Swami Vedanta Deshika refer to bhakti in the middle 6 chapters when generally the middle 6 chapters will constitute Jnana Yoga, and only in the 12th chapter Bhakti Yoga is being introduced in the Bhagavad Gita, and therefore why should he stress on bhakti as an essence of the middle 6 chapters? That's what I understand your question is. And that is why I said to you that there is introduction to bhakti from the 12th chapter, rather in the middle 6th chapter, the last chapter of the middle 6, and then from 13th to 18th, the Bhakti Yoga is elaborated, and so you can say even now 7 chapters, from 12th chapter to 18th chapter, that will constitute, if we say Bhakti Yoga. Then the Bhakti Yoga is given an introduction, meaning a stress is given, an importance is attached to Bhakti Yoga, even in the 2nd, 6th chapter. That is what we understand by his stress on Bhakti. So it is only an explanation of Sri Yamunacharya's mind on the 2nd, 6th chapter.
Yes, and as you said before, the first 6 chapters lead to the second 6 chapters, which lead into the third 6 chapters. So there has to be some part of the previous 6 chapters which give us a hint for the next 6 chapters. So in the 12th chapter we get the hint for the 13th to the, as you say, to the 15th about Bhakti Yoga's more deep explanation. So this is an introduction. So we get an introduction also to Jnana Yoga in the fourth chapter, and up to the 6th chapter, coming into the second 6 chapters. So each one has some aspect before it to introduce us to the next form of yoga in the next section.
I would also say that there is a mixture of all the 3 yogas every time.
Well, I think it's very difficult because Gita Sangraha is such a short work.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to find a lot of explanation of how to practice in detail in our life these aspects of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Prapatti in such a small work. So he can only give a hint of the mentality that we have when we go about our lives. He cannot give anything in detail because it is such a small work.
Of course, beyond Swami Vedanta Deshika's commentary, one need not go for further explanation, because this itself will be enough.
Yeah, what I gather from this discussion,
Ah.
is from the what I gather from this teaching of Mama Afiya Swami is that
Yeah, that's it.
the
That's
only-
what
not
the
a-
participants can give the summary of
the
what
summary,
they understood.
the summary I feel for my daily life, and to get shanti or peace, and not to worry or anything external things, and total surrender that God is there, and be always in the meditative spirit of Narayana. Always keep saying Narayana mantram. So somehow, without your knowledge, you seem to get some peace. You seem to believe that, oh, he is there, I'm not going to worry. So without your knowledge, I feel I'm getting some kind of a peace. Having lost my husband recently, otherwise it's very difficult for me to carry on in this world. This constant thinking of Narayana, and constant always in that field of nobody else. If I think of something else, I immediately think, why am I wasting my time thinking of this person? At that time, I can use it to think of Sriman Narayana. So that is my thinking of what I've learned, that's what Gita has taught me.
Very nice feedback. The loneliness, what you call the solitary life that one leads, so will be filled with some satisfaction or contentment by going through such philosophy, I will say.
Yes.
The philosophy of life,
Right.
philosophy of practical life will give us some solace when we have many things to do and many things to avoid.
And I also think he's my best friend. He's everything. I can only go to Narayana, Sriman, the ultimate, and cry to him only. Nobody can give me any other relief except, and he does. He just works miracles. He's my best friend. He's everything for me right now. So everything else is very artificial.
Yeah, very nice. We all become Arjunas.
Yeah. So,
It is said in Ramayana, in Valmiki Ramayana, when Rama's qualities were understood by all, and Sita's qualities also, what did they feel? All the men felt that they should become the wife of Rama. All the ladies wanted to become become Sita.
yes.
That is the attitude with which we learn the principles.
Yes. Yeah, they're great. Yeah.
As Swami Tirunarayana said that, at the end we will come obviously to 1866, and I'm just trying to see how all of the yogas are linked together, but to see that how Prapati is the ultimate, and Prapati itself encompasses everything. It encompasses all of the different yogas. So I'm just saying that Bhakti Yoga naturally includes Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga anyway, but then the ultimate is Prapati itself, which encompasses all of that. So that's just my humble understanding.
That's right. It will be a consummation of Prapatti Yoga while we complete the study of Gita Sangraha. And when we go through the entire Swami Deshika's commentary on Gita Sangraha, we will come to thought that all the, as you said just now. So when you say Mam Namaskuru, he says in the 18th chapter, Mam Namaskuru, Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. When you always think of me, please fall at my feet. Please salute me then you understand that will be the Prapatti Yoga at the end. So the Prapatti Yoga will then involve all these processes, namely karma, jnana, and bhakti. So that will be what we call the climax that we may reach at the end of the study.
Yeah, so just as you said, you saved the best for last.
Yeah.
And the acharyas have saved the best for last.
Right.
And I don't know, for me, I find that, for the past few years that I've been studying under Keshavachari and learning from him, about Prapatti, Sharanagati, and Sri Vaishnavism, I've never found anything more profound than that, and the understanding of that is so profound for me that I just want to find out more and more about that, so I just
recently I've been going through some books on Vishishtadvaita, and I would also supply some, bring some thoughts there, and then present them to you here, so that we have some more angle by which we look at Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya and so on.
Yeah.
We have different thoughts of many bhaktas in the form of books
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
The humble suggestion is that I think one really nice way to understand and appreciate also Vishishta Advaita is to do it definitely in comparison to the other forms of Vedanta and the other understandings, so that we could see the uniqueness of the Vishishta Advaita, which I think also is more complete because it covers the both, Beda ideas. It covers everything, It isn't just like a one-sided view of the Upanishads. So it's nice to look at it like that, and I think it's easier to remember things like that. Just like you were saying, how you like, how the presentations that Dr. Alwar is doing, with diagrams, etc. I have a tendency that I tend to remember better when I see things in a visual way, so like when they do a diagram and they do different, tables and things like that, then I understand it more and I remember it more. But obviously I know that's a difficult thing for you all to get time to even do anything like that. But it'll be nice to compare it. And I really am interested in understanding Vishishta Advaita more, because I find it extremely, it has great depth. And you really have to think about it from all different angles to really understand it carefully.
We say in a proverb in Sanskrit, it is because Vishishta Advaita is a practical philosophy to be adopted, easy to adopt also. Vyavahare Vaishnavaha. In your heart of hearts, you may be a devotee of some other deity. But in the practical sense, you must be a Vaishnava. Because the whole world is real. It is not Jagan Mithya. It is not false. It is not unreal. And as Keshavadas Swami also said now in this session, that when you say Nirguna Brahma, the Almighty, the Brahman has no qualities, then the Vishishtadvaita is against that concept. And then we have all the quality, all the auspicious qualities attached to the Lord. So this is only practical philosophy within the limitation of understanding of an individual.
Mm-hmm. And Nirguna Brahman is one of the Lord's forms, basically. That's the understanding. Yeah.
A formless form.
Yeah. A formless form. It's one of his forms, but the Lord is more acceptable with form.
I think in Sri Bhashya, Sripad Ramanujacharya has gone to great lengths in the beginning, in his Mahasiddhanta section, to refute Advaita. And Govindacharya, as you're saying, you want to learn more about Vishishtadvaita and how it relates to other schools of Vedanta. So there are many other schools of Vedanta, but the main opponent of Vishishtadvaita is Advaita. So normally, if you want to study Vishishtadvaita, you are presented with the system of neti, not that. So Advaita is not Vishishtadvaita. So if you want to understand Vishishtadvaita, you have to understand what Advaita is, and whatever Advaita is, it's not that. Vishishtadvaita is not that. So that is why Swami Deshika and Swami Ramanuja have specifically focused on defeating Advaita, the wrong concepts of Advaita. Of course, there are some concepts in Advaita which are acceptable, but the basis of Advaita, this Jagan Mithya and these sort of things,
Brahma Satyam.
Brahma Satyam,
is the
Jagat
only
Mithya.
real reality. And whereas Vishishta, we call it not Vishishta Dvaita, but Vishishta Advaita only. The qualified monism, rather qualified non-dualism.
Mm-hmm.
Qualified non-dualism.
I actually
Qualified
find
monism.
I actually find that translation to be a little difficult to understand in English. Qualified in what way? I would my personal understanding of Vishishtadvaita, the English translation to me should be holistic Advaita. Advaita that explains the whole, not just Brahman, but Chid, Achid, and Ishvara, the three tattvas together, and how they relate to each other.
Right.
So
we'll meet
I
tomorrow.
call it holistic Vedanta, whereas qualified, the translation of qualified in what way is the question. If you say qualified non-dualism, qualified in what way? Qualified by the three aspects: Chid, Achid, and Ishvara.
Mm-hmm.
When we say qualified, we refer to the auspicious attribute. That's what we say, qualified.
Parasya Shakti Vividaya Shruyate. So there are unlimited aspects to the Supreme, but these three are the basic ones. This Chida, Chid, and Ishvara are the summary of the three categories. So Vishishtadvaita deals with those three as real things, whereas Advaita doesn't accept them as real ultimately.
Now, they have some gradations of reality. The one is called the Pratibhasika Satta, meaning it's like a dream. Or when you see a rope in the evening at the time of the darkness setting in, you identify a rope as a snake, Rajjau Sarpaha. Then you get afraid of the rope. And then finally you go near and take then get the courage to lift the rope. And then you find there is no snake. So again, what you call, that is Pratibhasika Satta. A flash in what you call permanence. Then again, Vyavaharika Satta is our life as a living being. Whereas suppose we live for 100 years. Then these 100 years are only a short time, a temporary period span. Then afterwards, we are not there. The name is not there. The name is not there, but the physical body is not there. Therefore, this is called Vyavaharika Satta, again what we call impermanence. Then lastly, they say Paramarthika Satta. Only God is Almighty, is ever present, real, and so they have some gradation of reality also. once you see a dream that seems very real in your dream status, it is very real. Afterwards, when you get up in the morning, that you understand it is an illusion. It is an illusion. Maya.
Yes, there are some analogies for explaining the difference, the difference between Vyavaharika and Paramatika visions. For instance, when we look, we see the earth is flat. When we look out, we see the land is flat. But if we go up into space or into an airplane, we see the world is a globe. So from our vision right now, we see the world in a certain way. But when we reach the Brahma Bhuta platform, when we understand what is Brahman, then we may see it in a different way. But still, the idea, like you say, the rope and the snake, this analogy, or the shell and the silver, these type of analogies, ultimately can be defeated, because there has to be a previous understanding of what is a snake. There has to be a previous understanding of what is silver. Otherwise, there cannot be an illusion. And then again, when we talk to Advaitins, we have to ask them, what is this avidya? Is it real or is it not real? Is Maya real or not real? And once we ask them that, they cannot answer. They have to say it is neither real nor unreal. And then we ask, what can be neither real nor unreal? And they say, anivachaniya. Once they say anivachaniya, it cannot be described by words. They're completely defeated. Because if your philosophy cannot be described by words, then it's nonsense.
Okay. So we'll say the Tani and the
कवितार्किकसिंहाय कल्याणगुणशालिने श्रीमते वेङ्कटेशाय वेदान्तगुरवे नमः।